Wrong one. I'm sorry.
Welcome everyone to a meeting of the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization. I'm Dave Moeller, or Gina out there. Can you please call the roll?
Yes, okay. MassDOT Secretary of Transportation, MassDOT CEO, Gina Fiandaca.
David Moeller representing Gina Fiandaca.
MassDOT Highway Administrator, Jonathan Gulliver.
Brian Fallon representing Administrator Gulliver.
Brian. NMCOG Chair, Andrew Delarier. See him, okay. NMCOG NPO Representative Pat Wojcik.
Here.
LRTA Board Chair, Tom Bommel.
Yeah.
Tom. Let's see, LRTA NPO Representative Karen Pulio. Let's see her. And Lowell City Council Representative to NMCOG and the NPO, Dan Ward. Let's see. All right, that's the roll. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for 22nd. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes, please? And please state your name for the record.
Pat Wojcik move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Would anybody like to second?
Justin, I have to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. Brian?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Justin, please call the roll.
Okay. David Muller.
Yes.
Brian Fallon.
Yes.
Pat Wojcik.
Yes.
Tom Bommel.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is
Status report.
status reports. Brian?
That would be Tim.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tim.
Okay.
Sorry, muted. Can't find my mute controller. Yeah, we've got not many items. There was a couple changes to project managers for a couple projects in Westford and one of the Dragon ones. But the main changes are Westford Bridge Rehabilitation, Stony Brook Road over Stony Brook 608861. That has a new add date of December 2024. 609-510 Drake-It, improvements at George Englesby Elementary School, Safe Routes to School project for February of 2025. Lowell Connector reconstruction from Thorndike Street to Gorham Street, 604694, December 4th, 2027, the add date. In Billerica, intersection improvements at Boston Road, Route 3A, Lexington Street and Glad Valley Road, 609-250. That has been changed to April 5th, 2025. 610-704 Burlington, Billerica, resurfacing and related work on Route 3A. That add date has changed to July 22nd, 2023. And 608-774 Lowell Tewksbury Route 38 intersection improvements. That's 8/5/2023. And that is it for changes this month.
Thank you. Any questions for Tim? Derek Schuster, you have a question?
Yeah, the Westford project 608861, that add date's technically fiscal year 2025. I just wanted to verify whether the development tip has it programmed at that time or if that'll be addressed.
It does.
Thanks, Justin, for confirming.
Yep.
Thanks, Justin. Next thing on the agenda is
We're losing you, Dave.
Opportunity for public comment. Is there any comment from public at this time? Seeing and hearing none. If you want to comment during the meeting, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Next item on the agenda is the Unified Planning Work Program for 2024.
That'd be Jessica.
Can you see my notes or no?
Nope, you're
We
good.
see your screen. Yeah.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Belanger. I'm a transportation planner with the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, and today I'll be giving an overview on our Unified Planning Work Program for federal fiscal year 2024. Transportation planning is a process for looking at the current state of transportation, designing for future transportation needs, and combining all of that with elements of budget, goals, and policies. The UPWP is one of 3 federally required certification documents. The UPWP is updated annually, and it provides a means to coordinate activities in order to address transportation planning concerns through a comprehensive planning program. Here's a little bit about the financials for the UPWP program. Regional planning agencies across Massachusetts are granted a funding award from MassDOT based on population size. The total funding amount for federal fiscal year 2024 is $1,115,377. Under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, Section 11206, there's been a change that increases 2.5% of planning funding for activities related to complete streets. So we've incorporated that in our budget for this coming 2024 fiscal year. We've also paid special attention to the US DOT's guidance on the Equity Action Plan. On the screen, you'll see some of the desired outcomes based on that program. So the Department of Transportation has committed to pursuing a comprehensive approach to advancing equity, and the Equity Action Plan highlights the key actions that will be taken required by US DOT to create a more equitable transportation system. In response to the Executive Order 13985, advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. An equity plan, action plan was created to highlight the key actions that the US DOT will undertake to expand access and opportunity to all communities while focusing on underserved, overburdened, and disadvantaged communities. Our planning process for the UPWP will make considerations for equity as related to the desired outcomes set forth in the action plan. On the screen, you'll see that the 4 action plan items are wealth creation, power of community, interventions, and expanding access. Our first proposed project for this UPWP is an regional electric vehicle study. This project will consist of an analysis of electric vehicle infrastructure and electric vehicle owners and operators within the Northern Middlesex region. First, we will begin by conducting interviews with municipal staff across the region to understand the demand for EV services, perceptions, along with interest in electric vehicles all around. We'll also conduct a mapping analysis using RMV and MassDOT data to identify EV users and charging stations around our region. The next proposed project is the Aiken Avenue and Bridge Street intersection study in Dracut, Massachusetts. This project will consist of an evaluation of the intersection in Dracut. The elements that we'll be looking at are traffic and safety analysis along the intersection as shown in the picture. The study will also take a complete streets review of bike and pedestrian facilities and recommend potential strategies to improve safety here. And the estimated budget is shown on the bottom. Our third proposed project for the federal fiscal year 2024 under our UPWP program is a Westford Age and Dementia Friendly Plan. This project will involve engagement with the town of Westford, their Council on Aging, and its senior population. Age Friendly describes the movement to make communities more welcoming and livable for older residents and people of all ages. This project will review the 8 topic areas that are identified by MassDOT and AARP. And the projected cost for that is $25,167 as shown. Our continuing programming has been listed on this slide. There's been a few changes to our existing programming. In the past, traffic counting was conducted, the data collection was conducted in-house at NMCOG. We had an RFP open for a consultant to help us with some of that data collection under this federal fiscal year. And along with some other changes. So under our regional systems management includes pavement, safety, congestion, and ITS. We're also currently working on a regional transportation plan. So federal fiscal year 2024 will be focused around the implementation, monitoring, and amendments to the new regional transportation plan. On the screen, you'll see our timeline. So we plan to present a draft of our UPWP plan to the NPO on March 24th. So that's next NPO meeting. And we'll have a 21-day public comment period. And then following the public comment period, we will hope to endorse and address any comments at that time. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions for Jessica? Seeing none. It was very clear, very precise, concise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Justin.
Sure. The agenda back up. So it's tip amendment.
It's tip amendment 4, is that right?
Yes. That would be me. Okay. So hopefully on your screen is a summary of proposed federal fiscal year 2023 to 2027 tip amendment number 4. And this involves several project changes to transit projects that are programmed in fiscal year 23. So as an aside, on the FTA side of the tip, we can carry over federal funding from one year to the next, but we can't carry over state funding. So the proposal that you're going to see here is basically adding new projects that are fully state funded using funds from the RTA capital program before that June state fiscal year deadline passes. So this amendment is going to show reductions in federal pieces and additions to state pieces to match that available RTA capital funding. So reviewing the amendment. So the first project involves a reduction in cost for terminal building and maintenance for the LRTA. The initial total $400,000, 80% federal, 20% state funding. Proposed change reduces that total to $66,485 with a continued 80-20 split. So it's a reduction of about $333,000. The second piece of the amendment is a reduction in cost for equipment and maintenance of IT facilities for the LRTA. Initially, it was $15,000 for that project using those federal and state. And the proposal is to reduce that to just under $1,500. The third piece is a reduction in cost for purchases of spare parts, capital spending. The current funding, $100,000 is still in the 80-20 split for federal and state, reducing that to $72,000 or so. And the fourth piece of the amendment, because the LRTA is not planning to rehabilitate their fueling station for the fixed route service this year, proposal here is to remove that project from the tip. And the other two pieces of this amendment are, like I said, the new fully state funded projects. And that's $98,000 for fare collection system upgrades and $360,000 for kind of a new project, which encompasses the facilities maintenance, equipment maintenance, purchasing of spare parts for the LRTA, as well as IT equipment and maintenance, which kind of matches those earlier projects that we reduced in cost. So that's kind of the summary of the amendment that we're proposing here today, and I can take any questions. I know the LRTA is here as well to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Justin. Are there any questions from the members? Seeing and hearing none, can I get a motion a second to release this for a 21-day public review process? And please state your name for the record when making the motion.
So moved, Tom Bommel, LRTA.
Second,
Thank you.
Pat
There's a
Wojcik.
motion. Is there a second? Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Justin, please call the roll.
Who's the second, Pat?
Yes.
Pat, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. David Muller,
Yes.
Brian Fowler,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Tom Bowles,
Yes.
and Karen Pulia, who's joined us.
Yes.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
And I believe the next item on the agenda is the 24 to 28 tip. Is that correct?
That is correct. Let's pass this on to Shivani.
Thank you. Can someone confirm if they see the right screen?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shravati Gopalan Narayanan, Transportation Planner here at NMCOG. So I will now be presenting a recap of all the work that we've been doing in the last few months on Transportation Improvement Program TIP and present the draft TIP document for a vote to release for a 21-day public comment period. TIP is a 5-year work program that lists all regionally significant and federally funded transportation projects and services in the MPO planning region. This includes highway and public transit projects, as well as bicycle and pedestrian projects that are implemented by MassDOT, local governments, or the LRTA. So the TIP is the officially programming document for transportation projects using federal funding sources. And upon MPO's approval, the regional TIP is incorporated into the statewide Transportation Improvement Program, as we call it, STIP. The TIP is updated annually and may be amended more often if necessary. And all the projects included in the TIP must be consistent with the MPO adopted RTP, that is Regional Transportation Plan. And additionally, the TIP must be fiscally constrained by federal allocation or estimated revenues. We are now looking at the overall timeline for the project for the federal fiscal year 2024 to 2028 TIP development. On January 25, that is 25th MPO meeting, we presented this timeline to develop TIP and we kickstarted the project. Later that week, we met with MARPA, MassDOT to discuss guidance for TIP and TIP development. So during the month of February, we evaluated and scored TIP projects, and during the MPO meeting that month, we presented the financial summary and the TIP Readiness Day meeting results. So in the month of March, we received the statewide project list from MassDOT, and during the March MPO meeting, we presented the project scoring, 4 scenarios for highway TIP projects to approve a preferred scenario, and the preliminary list of transit projects. And just to recap, the MPO unanimously voted on scenario 1. Unanimously voted on scenario 1. So next, in the month of April, we worked on the development of the draft document itself, and this document was shared with the MPO 1 week prior to today's meeting for their review. And we are today presenting the draft TIP, and upon vote to release the document for public comment period, a public meeting will also be held, and any comments that are received will be considered and presented to the MPO next month to endorse TIP. The final tip document will be posted on NMCOG's website and will be distributed for federal, state, and regional partners and stakeholders. So I will now be going over some of the important documents that we've received so far, and also the different scoring criteria that we used to evaluate TIP projects. In January, we met with MassDOT and we received guidance and financial summary, and we also discussed preliminary recommendations for programming of projects. I would like to give a quick overview of the financial summary. The first table that you see here is the financial information for TIP. The first column has the federal fiscal year, followed by a column that includes the federal proposed apportionment that the state receives each year for the upcoming TIP. The third column is the planned redistribution of $50 million each year, which is received in August. The fourth column includes the accelerated bridge program, GAN's repayments. The repayment ranges from $93 to $133 million and is repaid by 2026. And this is subtracted from the total available each year until 2026. We develop projects with the earmarked funding under different projects such as Highway Division Program and TIP funding for regional priorities. TIP funding for regional priorities is where we get our target funds. So when we compare 2024 to 2028 with current TIP regional priorities, the first 3 years are level funded. And in 2027, there is $53 million, which is about 15% increase. And this is because of the GAN's repayment. So now moving on to the second table. This table is our regional targets. The first column here is the federal aid apportionment, then state match, followed by the total regional target funding. Our region receives about 3.9% of the total regional priority. And each year, this goes from about $11 million to $14 million. When we compare this with the current TIP, first 3 years are level funded. And in 2027, there is about $2 million as target, which is 15% increase, again, due to the GAN's repayment. So the STIP program targets for federal fiscal year 2024 to 2028 TIP can be found in Appendix F in the draft document. So this is the list of projects that are programmed in the federal fiscal year 2024 to 2028 under regional program, along with the TIP year and total TIP funding. Westford Rehabilitation of Boston Road, 2024. Lowell Reconstruction and related work on VFW is programmed over 2 years, 2025, and 2026. Chelmsford Traffic Signal installation is programmed over 2025. Billerica intersection improvements at Boston Road, Lexington Road, and Glad Valley Road is programmed in 2025. Chelmsford improvements on Chelmsford Street is programmed over 2 years, 2026, 2027. Tewksbury intersection improvements at Main Street, Pleasant Street, and North Street, East Street is programmed in 2027. Lowell connector reconstruction from Thorndike Street to Gorham Street is programmed in 2028. And Chelmsford Vinyl Square safety improvements is programmed in 2028. So project description of each of these TIP projects, along with information of funding sources, estimated construction cost, and construction advertisement date are elaborated in Appendix A in the draft document. So moving on to the list of projects that are programmed in the federal fiscal year 2024 to 2028 under state program, along with the TIP year and total TIP funding. Lowell Rook Bridge replacement is programmed in 2024. Billerica Yankee Doodle Bike Path construction, 2024. And then Chelmsford Bridge replacement is in 2024. Westford Bridge replacement, Tony Brook Road over Tony Brook, it's in 2025. Drake Safe Streets to Safe Routes to School, Drake Safe Routes to School project is programmed in 2025. And Westford Interstate Maintenance and related work on I-495 is programmed in 2025. We are now looking at the list of transit projects. In the previous MPO meeting, we presented a preliminary list of transit projects, and I'll now quickly go over these projects. The items in the gray box are programmed annually, which includes IT equipment and maintenance, purchasing capital spare parts, transit planning, terminal and building equipment maintenance, and operating assistance. The items in the blue box are the additional projects programmed in federal fiscal year 2024, which includes Gallagher garage upgrades, replacement of 35-foot hybrid bus, purchase of a fixed route dispatching system, improvement to the paratransit maintenance facility, and rehab of the ADA commuter access way. The green box shows the other projects that are programmed in 25 through 28. So the LRTA is moving towards zero emission with projects in 2025 and 2026. Federal fiscal year 2025 projects include garage decking repairs and facility upgrades and charging infrastructure for zero emissions vehicles. Federal fiscal year 2026 projects include a solar array project at Gallagher Intermodal Transportation Center and 6 battery electric buses. Federal fiscal year 2027 projects include an administrative vehicle and 12 battery electric buses. And finally, in federal fiscal year 2028, Hale Street solar roof rehab. So before we move on to the various scoring criteria, I would like to give a brief overview of the US DOT's Equity Action Plan and how that relates to our planning efforts. So in 2022, US DOT published their Equity Action Plan outlining the agency's commitment to pursuing a comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all. And 4 equity-focused areas were identified to guide equity and advancement activities such as wealth creation, power of community, interventions, and expanding access. And these are designed to place people and communities at the center of US DOT's equity efforts. These focus areas are used to develop concrete actions that will thoughtfully redress the historic inequalities, positively impact historically underserved or overburdened communities in meaningful ways, and to ensure that the department is equipped to equitably deliver its resources and benefits. As we develop TIP, we want to ensure that equity is an important part of the development process and how projects impact marginalized and disadvantaged population. So we have taken into account of how we spend money on EG communities, which is discussed later in the presentation. So in order to prioritize projects for programming in the TIP, each project is evaluated and scored based on a set of approved transportation criteria. And the transportation evaluation criteria, or TEC, is a scoring method originally developed by MassDOT, MPOs, and the former Office of Commonwealth and Development to prioritize eligible TIP projects. The total TEC scores ranges from -18 for a project that would have adverse impacts to the transportation system to +18 for a project with the highest priorities. There are 6 criteria for evaluation with various subcategories in the scoring system, which was discussed in detail during the previous MPO meeting. So the scores for each of these subcategories ranges from -3 to +3. The MPO staff applied the criteria to all highway projects considered viable for federal fiscal year 2024 to 2028. So based on that, we scored each of the projects, each of the TIP eligible projects, and this table shows the score of each of the projects. So we can see that the project that has scored maximum is the Lowell Rope Bridge replacement with 13.45, and that is followed by Billerica Yankee Doodle Path Phase 1 project, which has scored 12. We also see that maintenance related or maintenance type projects such as Westford Interstate Maintenance and Westford Bridge Replacement projects have scored comparatively less with 5.57 and 4.93 respectively. So TC scoring summary with each category and subcategory and their corresponding scoring are discussed in detail in Appendix E in the draft document. Moving on to the next scoring method, greenhouse gas analysis. So NMCOG staff conducted the greenhouse gas analysis to assess each TIP project based on the available information. And quantified 4 projects are listed here. And these projects are eligible to be funded with congestion mitigation air quality funding or CMAQ funding. And the blue boxes indicate the highway projects and the green one denote the transit project. All other TIP projects either had qualitative decrease in emissions in greenhouse gas analysis or there were no assumed impact or negligible impacts on emission. A tabulation of project with greenhouse gas type, greenhouse gas CO2 impact, and greenhouse gas impact description for each of the TIP highway and transit project are discussed in Appendix B in the draft TIP document. NMCOG staff, we also conducted an equity analysis to see how many of the total TIP projects were in the EJ communities or the EJ areas. Geographic distribution analysis of TIP funded projects was undertaken to assess regional equity in the transportation planning process. And EJ areas have been identified and TIP projects have been mapped based on minority populations, low-income populations, areas with limited English proficiency, and areas with more than one of these EJ criteria. Excuse me. We wanted to analyze how we spend our funds on EJ communities, and so we developed this analysis to see how many projects are within the EJ communities. And this project here, this table here includes previous TIP funded projects, that is federal fiscal year 2014 to 2023, as well as program projects in this TIP, that is federal fiscal year 2024 to 2028. So we combined the total projects to see how many of the projects were in the EJ areas. So we have the total TIP projects in each of these communities in the third column, and the number of projects that are in the EJ area for each of these communities in the second column. In terms of funding for EJ category, we see that there are many projects that are and therefore more funding in areas with minority group greater than regional average only when compared to the other two categories, which are median income less than 65% of statewide average only, and limited English proficiency population only. The last column in the table is the TIP funding outside of EJ area. So we see that the median income less than 65% of statewide average and limited English proficiency population only there are no projects in these areas where the project is located only in one of these EJ categories. And going forward, we strive to engage groups and organizations representing Title VI and environmental justice population as part of our other planning processes. So I present draft federal fiscal year 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program TIP document, which was shared with the MPO 1 week prior to this meeting. I would like to pause here for a moment and see if there are any questions or comments from the MPO members.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, do we need a motion to release this for a 21-day public review process?
Yes.
Can I get a motion from a member and a second to release this for a 21-day public review process? And please state your name for the record.
So moved, Pat Wojcik.
You're muted, Tom.
Second, Karen Pulio.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
And just
Thank
for
you,
the
Karen.
records, the 21-day comment period is from April 28 to May 19, and the public meeting will be held on May 9.
Thank you. Just a
Thank
motion has been
you.
made and seconded. Call the roll.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
David Muller,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Tom Bowles,
Yes.
and Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Thank you.
And again, a really well done presentation. Thanks so much.
Yeah, good job,
I
Shemata.
believe the next item on the agenda is the transplant.
We hardly heard you, Dave, but it's the 23, Federal Fiscal Year 23 Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Plan Development.
That's me. One second, pull up my screen. Hi, everyone. So I'd like to give a presentation on the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan for the Northern Middlesex regions. In 2021, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law was enacted. So IIJA, Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act, and it continues the funding under Section 5310, which are the formula funds with no changes. Eligible projects include capital investment, traditional, non-traditional investments beyond the American Disabilities Act, and complementary paratransit services. Section 5310 program is designed to enhance mobility for seniors and persons with disabilities by providing funds for programs to serve the special needs of transit-dependent populations beyond traditional public transportation services. In order to receive Section 5310 funding, regions must have a current CPT HST plan. Under the plan, eligible recipients for the funding are states. So the state of Massachusetts, if we were in a small urbanized area, the state is usually the direct recipient. In our case, separate subrecipients include states, local government authorities, private nonprofit organizations, or operators of public transit services. What is a Coordinated Public Human Services Transportation Plan? It is a federally required document for funding. This plan aims to identify strategies to improve quality and the availability of transportation services for disabled populations and elderly populations throughout our region. The plan must be updated every 3 to 5 years, And the outreach for this plan must include coordinating with your respective regional coordinating council and the volunteer advisory board. This plan will include input from representatives of senior centers, individuals with disabilities, public and nonprofit, private transportation service providers, and other human service providers in our area. The engagement activities that we'll be conducting for this plan is our regional coordinated council meeting. We have a service provider survey that's currently circulating. We'll also be conducting visits to our COAs, and we'll be conducting interviews with riders. The timeline for this project began in April, and we're presenting our scope of work before the NPO now. And we will be hosting a RCC meeting in collaboration with Merrimack Valley on May 25th. Really functioning as a workshop, we're going to bring together the service providers and have a series of questions that we'll be asking in breakout rooms to hear what the challenges are for service providers with their health and human service related trips. In the month of June, we will present a draft plan before the NPO. And then in July, we'll present any comments and hope for endorsement. Leading into August. The next steps for this plan, we just encourage anyone who's interested to register for our upcoming meeting on May 25th. That's the Regional Coordinating Council meeting that we'll be hosting in partnership with Merrimack Valley. And then in addition, if you know of any riders within the region that would be willing to speak with us to talk a little bit about how the service is going for them, any needs or gaps in service areas, we'd be very interested in speaking with them. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Jessica. Very good. Any questions for Jessica? Seeing none, I think the next item on the agenda is other business. Is there other business coming before the NPO at this time? Justin, when's the next meeting? Oh, there it is right there. May 24th.
May 24th, I have a meeting.
All right, so with no other business coming before the PO today, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn? And please state your name for the record when making the motion.
Motion to adjourn, Tom Baumel.
Second, Pat Wojcik.
Motion having been made and seconded, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Great job, staff. Really good presentations today, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.